Hi, my name is Jennifer Clark, and for my final research paper, I'm going to be talking about the importance of teaching linguistics and language study in public schools. I'm talking specifically at a middle school level, so grades 6 through 8. And I think a lot of us remember being in a middle school classroom where we were taught what we would consider to be like the basic subjects. So that's history, math, science, sometimes fine arts, and of course English, which is the subject that we're talking here essentially when we're talking about linguistics and language study. And English is required of everybody starting at like age 5 when you're in kindergarten, going all the way through elementary school, middle school, high school, and even at a college level, you're required to take freshman level English, or at least exempt out of English. At least that's how it works here at UW-Whitewater, and I'm sure a lot of other four-year colleges. Schools do this because English is important. It teaches you how to read and write, two very important things to be able to do today. It teaches you grammar, and it teaches you how to communicate the English language, which is something that we use every day, no matter what field of study we're going into. And branching off of that, you have linguistics, which is the study of language. And this is important because we don't realize how important it is, but it actually is like a more in-depth branch off of English. It teaches you like what language is actually, why things are the way they are, and a bunch of other concepts that help you communicate further than just knowing proper grammar. And I found this to be really important. I found all these concepts to be really useful, the concepts that I learned in this class to be really useful, and I found that I could apply them to my everyday life. And I'm not even an English major. I'm a music major, which is something completely different. So if I found these concepts interesting and I found that I could apply them to my everyday life, then everybody can, and which is why I think it's important to introduce them in public schools. And I think middle school is the perfect level to introduce these at, because at least I remember middle school is when I started learning more advanced grammar, advanced English, and this is also when I had to start taking a literature class, so I'm also doing more advanced reading, no more picture books. And this is also the age at which students start to mature. They're teenagers, becoming young adults, and so they're old enough to be able to grasp these concepts, but they're also going to be able to have room to improve, room to practice when they go into high school, before they get to college and all they want to do is focus on subjects that are going to be useful to them when they graduate. So a lot of my research actually, or a lot of my resources for this research project actually consist of research papers written by graduate students who are going to grad school for linguistics and language study. I think these resources are really helpful because not only are they written by experts on the subject, but they're also, they're written by people who come up with thesis statements, like kind of like we did for this project. But they're also able to go out into the real world, into classrooms, and conduct experiments, and they're able to observe actual behavior by actual students. And I know a lot of people like to have solid real-life proof before they actually believe something. So real-life proof is what we got. One of my papers was actually written by a grad student in London named Richard Hudson. And what he found out, and he writes in his research paper that he finds that grammar, or teaching grammar, is essentially a waste of time, he says. He finds that linguistics is a better use of time because students are not only being taught like grammar, or this is proper sentence structure in English, and they're not just being taught that there is an English language and there are other languages and this is how you do it. They're actually being taught, they have knowledge on what language is, and they're forced to be able to think outside the bubble, not just grammar rules or correct grammar rules. And he finds that this is really important because it teaches you to communicate with others, of course, which is going to be important, but it also teaches you how to communicate with yourself, or teaches a student how to communicate with himself, so which is really important to have no matter what field of study you're going into. You're going to have to use it. So that was Richard Hudson's paper, and looking forward to reading the rest of the research papers that I've gathered to see if they agree with this thesis on why linguistics is important.